Hi, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Beacon, where we talk about the news behind the news. I'm Chief Revenue Officer at the Beacon, Daralyse Lyons, joined today by owner and publisher Emily Smith, and we are back for another conversation about all things Beacon.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And it's interesting because we happen to be recording this today, a time when, by the time that this comes out, this problem will have been solved. We're confident in that. But today, a data center in Phoenix overheated and our servers went down, our mail went down, sort of the forward-facing website went down. And it today happened to be also the first day of our official participation in an AAN tech cohort. We received a $5,000 grant from AAN, which is like a news organization, to support our technology operations. And so Emily and I entered our conversation with our coach this morning from a perspective of, well, we have a technology problem. We actually have the worst technology problem that we've experienced so far. But she and I thought it would be really great to have a conversation about why things go wrong with the website, what they are, what happened today, how you as a news reader can understand some of the forward-facing things that you might encounter when visiting our website, some of the glitches and why those happen, how some of those are preventable and how some of those there's nothing we can do and nothing we did to cause it. So yeah, this is going to be an episode about failure, right, Emily? And
yeah, more failure.
Yeah. So let's talk about today, just because I think it's the biggest so far, website interruption disturbance that we have had so far. So
we had another one, I don't know, last year that was pretty bad, but it was different.
Okay. So let's start with that then. What happened last year?
We got hacked. Yeah. And we didn't have a backup. And our whole site went down for 24 hours maybe. And I had to rebuild all the pieces. We got hacked earlier this year in June. We had a backup, but there was lots of nested files inside of our server file manager that took a program to extract. In the process, we lost our development site I've been working on for a year. So that's fun. And then today, entirely different. Today, our web host that has 99.5% uptime or something like that, they went down. They're everything because of a data center in Phoenix. So there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what I was telling you before we jumped on here.
Yeah.
It's the best for me.
Yeah, because we didn't cause it. We can't control it. It's an exercise in surrender. But from what I understand, the data center overheated. And so something about
Phoenix.
Yeah, them overheating means that, and it wasn't just our web hosting service. It was a few services went down. So for someone such as myself, who's a newbie at tech, who doesn't really understand, why would that be? Why would a data center overheating in Phoenix cause the Bucks County Beacon website not to work?
Yeah. So it is important, as we cover the building of data centers a lot because Pennsylvania has been the governor wants to build data centers in Pennsylvania because it's big money and it's important to understand how the whole process works. So there's the cloud, right? And the cloud is where our information resides. Mm-hmm. But the cloud is an idea. There has to be a physical location of the hardware. So the hardware exists in these data centers. So these are giant buildings filled with servers. So if you know, a desktop computer, for instance, right? You know what those look like? Essentially, it's they go the other way, but it's just server after server after server, and they're in stacks. Right. And then there's rows of them. And they create the space that creates the cloud. And they exist all over the world. There are certain places that you find more of them, places like Phoenix, because there's more land to build these things. The unfortunate problem about Phoenix, I used to live there, so I know, this time of year is the monsoon. People don't think of Phoenix as a monsoon place, but it's the hot and wet season, and it means that this time of year, the daytime temperature can be as high as 120 degrees, and it'll still cool off at night and be 80. But it gets real hot, and there's actually humidity in the air, and then there's also sandstorms. They call them haboobs. That is what they're called. If you've never seen a picture of one, look it up. Haboob, I think is how you spell it, or Habb. I'm not really sure, but I've been in one before, in a Jeep with no doors on it, and I drove as fast as I could, but I got it. I was in it. It's like, you know what, like those sandblasting, you know how they like sand things? It's like that on you.
It's like a sandstorm, like the hailstorm equivalent, but with sand or something.
Yeah, it like comes over the mountains, and it's like a cloud that comes in, like you're watching a storm arrive, and it is a storm. You know, there'll be thunder, but usually not any rain. So it's a cloud and like wind, and it picks up all the sand off the ground, and it just pushes it in front of it as it comes through.
So different kinds of clouds. The first kind of cloud we were talking about was like a data information storage system, but off-site, right? So like, remember back in the day when I was working in an office and we would have like an on-site server room, and everyone's computers would be backed up to not just their own like sort of local hard drive, but they would also go to this physical server, but it was at the office location. And what you're talking about is scaling that up significantly.
Yes.
And having all of the data go somewhere off-site from a person's office or a person's home, sort of into this more amorphous place. But that also explains when you talked earlier about the fact that the beacon has been hacked a couple of times, like they're not getting onto our server necessarily. They're getting onto a remote server that is, we own or possess part of that. But I think one of the times we were hacked, we weren't the only ones who were hacked. Either, right?
Yeah. Last year when we got hacked, that is when I switched to a virtual private server. We were on a shared server before. So essentially what they do is like each one of these servers holds a certain amount of data. Like, you know, your laptop is probably 500 gig or, you know, a terabyte nowadays. It really depends, but that's its storage capacity. So for people that have little websites, they have a shared space. So it's, you know, a server that's 100 gigs and there's 200 websites on it or something. Do you know what I mean? And we moved to a virtual private server, which meant they partitioned our stuff separate so that we have that space and it is totally ours to manage and maintain, but it's offsite. Yes, we could have a server room somewhere if we had a physical location, and we wouldn't be down now because we could switch over to self-hosted. We don't have that.
And there's upsides and downsides to that. Like if ideally you have multiple different mechanisms, almost like for people like who have a generator at their home, right? Like ideally you're running on sort of the same main system as everyone, but if the power goes out, you can sort of tap into the backup generator, and it can be like that with server systems as well.
Well, and there's another thing called a CDN, which is a content data network, and we used to run our stuff through that, but we had some problems with it, so I eliminated it. But a content data network is a service. So what's the big one called? Cloudflare.
Oh yeah.
Cloudflare is the big one. And so what they do is they make copies of your website and they store it at different data centers in different places. So if a data center in Phoenix overheats, then it is just going to start running from a different one, right? So that'd be great. We'd still be up.
Well, and for people who are like, well, why not do that? You know, or why don't you have like all these things cost money,
Yeah.
right? And resource and time and all of that. So can you talk a little bit about like sort of like how much does it cost to have our information stored in like with offsite hosting, and how much would it be if we wanted to upgrade to something that was a little more like had more fail safes in place?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we pay, the place that our host is Namecheap, and that the name obviously says it all. It's not expensive. I would say our cost is maybe $100, $200 a month
Mm-hmm.
at this point for that. If you add on like a content data network or like an image, like there's like a separate thing where you can store your images somewhere separate. Each of those costs, it's not that much. It's like pennies, but the pennies add up
Right.
depending on users. The bigger problem is actually when you've got conflicts of the technology.
Ah, okay.
So layering the different things can actually, like with a CDN, the problem is there's a couple things. There's also caching software. We have Lightspeed Cache, and caching software, like it takes your website and it essentially takes a picture of what it is. So it'll load faster on the website.
Yeah.
But then a CDN has it in different spots. The problem is when you're going to update your website in real time, it, it takes a while for it to get around to all the places. And that's the CDN part. But then the caching part, it takes time. It doesn't recache things. So you can have lag on that stuff, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So so then you're refreshing it. And when you refresh it, then it has to build a new version of it. And then it slows down your website because it's redoing a section that it's already stored the information. So there's lots of like technical pieces of that if you don't have it set up just right, it will crash everything.
Yeah, right.
Just by
Right.
itself.
Yeah, and it sounds like every solution has its own set of problems, right?
Yeah.
And its own maybe areas of inadequacy or like areas of growth opportunity. And then they all have their own strengths. But like if I just, beacon resident consumer reader of our content, go to the website and am greeted with an error message, I don't know what's happening or why. And so like
Right.
what has it been like in the past, like when the website goes down or when there's an issue, like you're the person who fields all of the complaints, all of the comments, all of the concerns. So like walk us through that experience.
Well, usually Cyril is the canary in the coal mine, and he lets me know there's a problem as soon as he tries to log into WordPress in the morning. And he sent me that this morning, and I was like, check our other Slack channel. I already knew about the problem. I already sent him
Yeah,
a
I
thing.
was the canary today, so I'm very proud of myself. Yeah.
Yes, you were the canary today, but it was email, which was an interesting way for it to come in because usually our email does not go down if our website goes down. And that's why this is so different, is because it's all of Namecheap's systems. But yeah, so usually Cyril sends me something and then Melinda will send me something. Oh, this is slow. Oh, I can't connect to the database. Like all of these different things. Usually the readers themselves aren't complainers, but we don't know what losses we're experiencing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the problems, and one of the things that tech people work on really hard is uptime and speed, right? Uptime and speed, because those are points of friction.
Yeah, right.
And you want to avoid friction for your readers because everyone has a super short attention span these days. So if there is any kind of problem, they bounce, right? And that's literally a bounce rate, right? That's what it's called, is the bounce rate. But things like speed, lag, downtime, that all contributes to your bounce rate.
Well, it's really interesting because one of the things that I always appreciate, like and I'm not on the editorial side really. I mean, sometimes I might get some leads. Someone will reach out to me with a lead and I'll pass it along to Cyril but occasionally people will reach out to me with a complaint. And I'm always so grateful for that because that means that the person is not bouncing. That means that they're with us, they're loyal, they're
Yeah.
engaged, they've got some sort of question, some sort of
Yes.
issue, and then we can address it directly with them. But if someone's like a new potential reader to the Beacon, today is their first day, they try to go to our website. Yeah, right. And we don't know what we don't know.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't know we had them in the first place, and now they're gone. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, and like something like this, is there anything that can be done to prevent it, whether it be a data hack or a overheating situation, or like what are the solves for?
Yeah, couple stock tips here. There's a company called CrowdStrike that is all about internet security. Internet security is the biggest buzzword besides AI in the tech world. There are lots of solutions. Like I bought a plugin called Immunify 360 after our most recent hack, and it is constantly scanning our website looking for problems, and it is then grabbing those problems and getting rid of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but that literally is why I no longer have this development website, is because it grabbed the problem files, which was everything we had done. So it's not perfect, right? None of it's perfect. Yeah, you can have a CDN, which can give the illusion that your website is working, even if it's not, right? Because it's stored in a different location. So you can't update it, but it will stay, so people can see something. And then, we're moving to a managed solution now, which I think is what most regular everyday consumers of websites, when they use Squarespace or Wix or any of those, or GoDaddy, or managed hosting, which means that the hosting provider, GoDaddy, Namecheap, Bluehost, all of these, they are also managing the security, uptime, all of that of the website. You can still break it as a developer. Like, I've broken my fair share of websites.
Wait, on purpose? Or that seems like quite an aside. How does one break a website? Like, are you a hacker in your downtime?
No, it's we call it the WSOD, white screen of death.
Okay.
It's usually a plugin conflict. So there's lots of things that get layered together to build a website and have it do all of the fancy things you want it to do. And all of them are getting updated at different times. And if one gets updated before the other, they might have conflicting code, and it creates a loop. So it's hard to explain to like a layperson, but it's stuck on a piece of code and it just goes around in circles and it can't get out. And then you get a white screen of death because it's like, I don't know what to do with any of this information.
As a side note, for anyone who's listening to this and not watching this, you should go watch the video, because Emily is very expressive in talking with her hands. And so she just did like these loop-de-loop motions. There's no way to replicate them if you're just listening. Okay, proceed.
Yeah. So we are moving to a managed solution, enterprise level managed solution called WP Engine. So they are one of the biggest developer of managed hosting. They have some plugins they own, Advanced Custom Fields, which is like the Cadillac of customizing websites in the most specific way. So I use Advanced Custom Fields on our website currently, but this is their Cadillac product for newsrooms, and it just came out pretty recently. So with that, we have 24/7 tech support. We've got a CDN, content data network. We have a smart plugin manager that protects us from having that white screen of death. We've got staging and production and live site versions that are all connected and easy to move from one to the other. So you can test everything ahead of time before you push it to live. It has lots of other features, but that is the big thing is, I had a problem yesterday trying to migrate our website, and I was like, here's what I've come up with. And I sent it to my onboarding guy, and he fixed it in like 5 minutes. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Because I just walked away and did something else, and I came back and it was done.
Yeah. And I think that we've touched on this in the tech stack episode, because we did an episode talking about our whole tech stack, but like, you are pretty much the one-stop shop for all technological issues at the Beacon. And so because you're the person that fixes all the things, if there's something that you don't know, you're not aware of, it's sort of beyond the scope of your expertise or just different than what you've encountered in the past, like you're the person that has to go and figure all that out and manage it. And you don't really have other teammates that you can bounce that off on.
I mean, my AI is my teammate in this.
God. Wait, so you're responsible because AI is what's responsible for all these data centers overheated. So in a roundabout way, we both caused the problem and we're getting solutions from.
Although I don't think I'm using it at the, like I use AI a fair amount for coding type stuff and figuring that kind of stuff out. I actually believe the stuff that takes more processing power for AI LLMs, as they call them, large language models, is actually image editing and creation, which I don't use at all, really. Like there's something built into Photoshop that I use to remove the background, but it was 90% of the way there before they added that in. But image generation from prompts, I think, is really a big drain.
Yeah.
Energy drain on the whole thing. Yeah. I'm asking it math problems and coding problems, which is not, I mean, computers are good at computers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So for people who like are recognizing, wow, because one of the things that I think about with a news site, I'm on the revenue side. So I always think about like fundraising and development and sales and advertising and those kinds of things. But, I think a lot of people who think about the news, all they think about is the editorial side of things. They think about the articles that are being produced, the reporting that's being done, the podcast episodes that are being released, sort of all of the tangible things that they can see, they can read, they can hear, they can, see, read, hear. Those are the ones. But there's all this invisible stuff behind the scenes, like the technology stack, the operations work, et cetera. And I always really feel like people need to be aware of all of those components, not just readers, but also like potential donors, people who care about the news need to know that, the delivery mechanism is also very important. And there are certain things that we could do in order to ensure a smoother end user experience. But a lot of those are cost prohibitive, or they require a lot more sort of internal bandwidth or capacity or extra personnel, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, we're lucky to have me.
Yeah.
Because the job that I have been doing is a very expensive position to hire out. And that's one of my positions. Do you know what I mean? And replacing the tech stuff that we're doing with this new WP engine is going to free up my time to do other things that might be more valuable. And instead of hiring an IT guy, back-end developer, network system analyst, like whatever that position would be, we're replacing it with $1,000 a month for our new WP engine.
Right. Well, and that's also $1,000 a month. And I think one of the things that people don't recognize is like just how much a single large dollar contribution could be. Like, I mean, a $10,000 donation or a $12,000 donation rather could get us our IT hosting for the entire year. Like that's a huge thing, right? And so I think that sometimes people are like, oh, like it's a big, like they're producing all this news and whatever, and like $1,000 from me isn't going to make a big difference. Well, yes, it will. It will get us a whole month of our web hosting. And so I think for a news org at our size, like we're actually at a size where contributions matter significantly in a way that I think, if we were a $2 million organization in terms of like the percentage of our revenue, like $1,000 wouldn't necessarily go as far. It would still be wonderful, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
stretch as far. But for us, like 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 5,000, like it makes a significant difference in terms of what we can accomplish.
Yeah. And I was doing some calculations last night. I've got some, budget bloat, and I've been working on trying to figure it out. And I had a conversation with Cyril about if only I knew the actual cost to produce one story on our website.
Yeah.
And I figured out that number last night. I figured out the editorial cost, but then I had figured out the total cost. And right now it's a little expensive for the amount of stories we're putting out. We're spending about $1,100 an article, which is a lot.
Which is a lot. But also, I think there's sort of like a volume issue, right? So if we have one staff salary reporter and that person is putting out, 5 articles a week, that it's less expensive per article than if that person is putting out 1 article per week.
Right.
But the 1 article per week might be like a huge investigative deep dive versus the 5 articles, which might be a little more generated in a faster way. If we're paying a freelancer, it's going to be a lot less expensive per article, but then maybe they're going to need more editorial oversight, or they're going to miss out on some details because they don't have the time to really embed themselves in all of the information in the reporting. So there's a lot of trade-offs.
Yeah. And when I'm saying that average number, that's including us doing reprints of other organizations.
Wow. Okay.
So what I would say is there's lots of different pieces, right? Like the actual editorial cost per each is $750 or something. And then we're adding $400 per article on top for us for the background logistics and everything else that goes into it. But it's an interesting way to, like, as you talk about, if people only knew how much, things were. For me, it's very distinct. If we put out 45 articles a month, or if we put out 50 articles a month, it costs us this much. What if we pare it back a little bit? What does that look like? And what if we got a little bit extra here from this and that? And like, how does that work together? Like I just kept asking more questions of like, well, how much are we actually, like, our reader revenue pays for about $40 per story.
Yeah, right.
40 out of 1,100.
Right. Well, and also, so reader revenue, we did a whole episode about that. And I think it's something that we'll be continuing to revisit in this Behind the Beacon, because reader revenue is unrestricted. It's money, like grants are amazing. We're so lucky to have them. But like, for example, this technology grant that we got, it's $5,000, which does make a huge difference within our organization. We're very grateful for that money. And also the $5,000 will run out. And then where are we if we've invested in different technological solutions, et cetera? But I think the point that I was going to make is that, like, if we scale back the amount of work that we're doing, we might save money on the like in the immediate sort of like sense of things, but then we're going to perhaps lose money because less people are coming to our website, less people are engaging with our content. So like, it's a weird, like, you change one variable and it doesn't just change that variable. It often changes several variables.
Yeah. It's more, the way I look at it is like, where's the extra? And like, the extra is layers of management and executive stuff. That's extra. But like, also, if we had more original reporting, like, which we're working on, we've got Ben working for us now. He's doing a lot of great original reporting. The more high quality original reporting that we do, the more readers we have. The more readers we have, the more we can convert into dollars. And I hate to say that to all of our readers out there. Yeah. I'm not looking at you as a dollar, except I am.
I think for me, I look at it as like a synergistic relationship and a value add. And in the same way that, like, if I go out to eat and I'm at a restaurant and I have a really great experience, like, I might tip 30%, right? Or 35% or 25% or what, whatever on the basis of the service and the value add. And that's how I look at it. It's like, if we're providing something wonderful for our readers, which we hope we are, and if not, like, if we're not, I already mentioned, like, please email us, let us know, like, tell us your issues. We appreciate that. We appreciate reader feedback. But, like, if we're providing a value and a service that has tangible benefits in people's lives, which I think journalism does, then the hope is that those who can afford to invest in our organization or to invest in their community will, and they'll make a donation, whether it be $5 a month, $10 a month, a one-time $200 check, whatever they have capacity and inclination for. That actually does help us a lot, and it helps us then to continue to do the work that we're doing, whether that's making sure that the website doesn't crash, or if it does, we can fix it quickly, or producing original news content, or any number of things that we do, hosting events, like everything that we do has some financial outlay attached to it.
It sure does.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us then about, I think we'll probably have an episode just about the new website, and once that is launched and out, like talking about that and what it took to build it and put it together. So I don't want to kind of get ahead of our skis, but just like, will that solve some of these problems with crashing? Like, just tell us about that part of it, Emily.
Yeah, it will. Because it's a managed hosting, they're going to actually manage it and send me notifications if there's a problem. They will fix the problems. There's 24/7 real human beings in the United States here to help, which is amazing. And they will fix the problem. If I have problems with some piece of code that I'm doing, they will help with that too. So that's huge. The CDN will prevent us from ever going down. We might lack some new content if there was a downtime event, but the average reader wouldn't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wouldn't know. And I work for the Beacon. I just, I think Cyril might be the first person to know that on the editorial side when he goes to upload something or whatever. But yeah, I think for most readers, it's just important that they be able to get access to our content in a timely manner. And as you talked about, like, it reduces the burn rate if people don't have friction. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's lots of other fancy things that come with it. Look forward to interactive charts.
Yeah, and video verticals and all of the things, and an easier interface, and for us being able to have freelancers upload their content directly so that doesn't have to run through one person. So yeah, I think I don't think the website will be live by the time that we launch the episode after this one, but hopefully, like, in a couple of episodes, let's say like the next 2 to 3 episodes, we'll be able to really talk intelligently about the new website. We will have launched it. We'll have the bugs. We'll be able to talk about, building the plane as we fly it, and what went wrong and what's going well and what we're able to do.
I'm hoping for that to not be a thing, because I'm going to make everyone on our team, everyone that writes for us, I'm going to make everyone test it before it goes live.
Yeah.
There is a right way to do things, and there's the way that I do things, which is fly by the seat of my pants, turn and burn, get it done. You know what I mean? And big companies can afford to have alpha testers, beta testers, all of that stuff, focus groups.
Yeah.
That ain't us.
When we have one person running our tech department, like that in and of itself is challenging, but that's also the person who oversees our marketing department, who oversees our human resources, who oversees, who manages the editorial, manages the editor, manages the chief revenue officer. So I think that it makes sense to sort of duct tape things sometimes when you're responsible for 10 to 12 different functions versus being responsible for 1 to 3 different functions. One person only has so much bandwidth. And sometimes when you get the call, Emily, it's, oh my gosh, the website is down, versus being able to sort of proactively deal with issues before they arise.
Yeah. And, yes. Yes. And there's always going to be that. While I, knock on wood, hope the WP engine solves all of our problems and we never have another downtime event, that's not realistic. The world is not perfect. Technology is not perfect. And technology is always evolving. So who knows what the thing is going to be that's going to put us there. But there is a moment when our website goes down and I get a text, a call, or whatever, the website's down. And usually that means I'm scrambling. I'm, even if our website goes down with WP Engine, I'm going to be reaching out. Like, hopefully they'll prevent 98% of the problems.
Yes.
But if there's a problem, then I'm reaching out to them to help me solve the problem. And I have to drop everything. It doesn't matter what else I'm doing, right? And I don't just drop things for an hour, right? Like, if we have one of these downtime events besides this one's glorious because I can't do anything about it. In any other circumstance, I will spend 10 hours on my computer fixing the problem.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, in any other circumstance, we would have canceled our meeting this morning that we had with the tech.
Yeah.
That we would not be recording this today. Like, and you have a life. Like, I think one time you were at a family wedding or something and we're calling you to say, hey, we're having a glitch. We're having an issue.
I get those calls all the time. It's always the worst time. It's Murphy's Law, right? So I am trying to prevent that, though, with this new product, which is not down right now.
Yeah,
which is what's funny. But it's not ready to be up either.
Yes. So. Yeah, we can't launch before we're ready because that would create a whole different host of problems. But so you mentioned, though, you said, our readers, when these issues arise, don't typically complain to you. They're not typically the ones coming forward with issues. But I think, how can they get involved in the solution for anyone who's watching this or listening to this and wow, I didn't really realize how complex these challenges are, or the fact that it costs $1,100 to produce an article and you're getting $40 in reader contributions. What are some ways that they can support or get involved in making things
obviously
more efficient and effective?
Obviously they could contribute on a monthly basis so we could have revenue that we can depend on. Beyond that, if you see something, say something,
Yeah, except today, because if they were to send us an email, none of us access our emails. But I suppose we'll get it when we're back up and running.
Then we would get them all. We'll find out how many people send us an email at some point.
Right.
I had an issue with the newsletter last week, and I got an email from a reader who was like, this link is broken. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm sending out the other one. And they're like, oh, that's so great. It's so nice to talk to a real person. Yes, if you send something to info@buckscountybeacon.com, that I get those and Cyril gets those. Except today we're not taking emails.
But we will be soon. At some point today, I'm sure we'll be back online. It might be 2 a.m, but someone will be up and dealing with it. So yes, if you want to contribute financially to our back-end technology, it's perhaps less shiny, less exciting than contributing to our editorial, but it's just as valid and valuable and essential for us being able to deliver the news. So you can go to buckscountybeacon.com and click the support the beacon button. You can also reach out to me directly at Daralyse at buckscountybeacon.com or to Emily at the info@buckscountybeacon.com, email address and say, I want to make a one-time donation of $500 and I want it to only go to technology, for example. And we can make that happen. We have the internal infrastructure to be able to earmark, or, I want to support the editorial work that you're doing. And, I'd like my donation to go towards that. We can absolutely do that. And we do that all the time. And we love being able to match donors with opportunities, and we can take tax deductible donations. There's all sorts of ways that we can sort of support you in supporting us.
Yeah. And I would say the technology is going to be super shiny and exciting when your website launches And if anyone wants to give us $12,000 to pay for the first year of this hosting plan, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Let's challenge extended, right? Let's see what happens. But anyways, thank you so much for listening and watching this and engaging with us. We'd love your comments, your feedback. Again, our internet will be up and working by the time that this episode comes out. But, shoot us an email, shoot us a message, call us, however you get in touch, and let us know. And if you have had issues with our website, but you're still coming back to the beacon and continuing to stay engaged, let us know that too, because it's important. Like we definitely care about the work that we do and we want to contribute to the community.
I agree.
So, okay,
I agree.
great. All right. Well, until next
Everybody.
time. Thanks so much.